Hello, everybody. Let's go ahead and continue with covering the course basics, the essential things that you need to know for how to navigate the astronomy course this semester. This is going to be video 3 in week number 1. And today, or at least in this video, I want to talk to you about how you can translate going between the semester schedule and Dr. Lindsay's textbooks, my slide deck of hopefully what you're finding to be very thorough and easy to understand and read and follow slides. But I'll give you a little bit of a primer on that. And I want to talk to you about my rather unique exam and quiz policy that I've put in place for this semester. Give me a moment just to bring up the slides. I'm going to be doing lots of switching between screens as I go through this, so afford me a little bit of patience as I will almost certainly load the wrong slide at some point. All right, so here we are, Essential Astronomy Class Information Part 2. And those are the topics that I said we're just going to cover. So let's start with Dr. Lindsay's textbook. The slides that I've put together over the past 5 years to make something that I actually think is better than the textbook that I used to use, and it comes in at the wonderful cost of $0 to you, which hopefully you are enjoying that reduction in cost. Okay, so one of the things that you're going to need to know, and rather than you just sort of gleaning this through experience, I wanted to go ahead and give you a primer of how you can connect the information that I have in the semester schedule to the actual way that I label my slides. So my textbook is broken into different units and parts. Each part is then broken down into topics, and these topics are listed on the schedule. So I'm going to read this and then I'm going to show it to you, and hopefully that will make everything make sense. So you might be looking at the semester schedule, and you'll see that one of the things that you're supposed to cover for the week, you're supposed to read through and take notes and digest. It says 1.4 topic 2, thermal radiation. And then in the box next to it on the spreadsheet, it says 1.4 slides 16 through 36. So this is telling you what slides you need to be looking through and what the slide numbers are. And this applies to the PowerPoints. The PDFs might be slightly different, but be right around 16 to 36. So with this 1.4, the 1 in 1.4 describes what unit I'm talking about. That's the biggest structure. There are roughly 3, maybe 4 units for Astronomy 152 if I can get my butt in gear and actually cover more material than I normally do this semester. So the 1 is the unit, the 4 in 1.4 is the part. So 1.4 refers to Unit 1, Part 4. That in my textbook would be Unit 1, Part 4, Light, Matter, and Heat. So when you see that you are going to be covering 1.4, Topic 2, Thermal Radiation. Thermal radiation is the topic in that part. And the slides that you need to look over are slides 16 through 36 in the Unit 1, Part 4, Light, Matter, and Heat. So let's go ahead and take a look to see how this actually plays out on Canvas and with the course schedule. So have to share a different screen now. So far, batting 100% for choosing the correct one. So here's our student view of the astronomy website. You're going to come down here to Course Materials, Dr. Lindsay's textbook. You would click on my textbook, and let's go ahead and keep the example that we want Unit 1, Part 4. So we have Unit 1, all about general astronomy. And then we'll go down to Part 4. It's about light and matter and heat as well. And then you would click on these PowerPoint slides and bring them up. Zoom is pretty slow whenever you have to load things, so I'm going to avoid clicking on that for right now. But that would bring up the slides, which I'll show you here in a second in a different screen share. And then once you have those slides brought up, you can go ahead and go through them, take notes, put questions that you would like to tell me. And if you want to engage in the discussions and digest that information. And just to show you what that actually looks like on the course schedule. So looking through, so we have 1.2, Unit 1, Part 2, Unit 1, Part 3, going on down. So here in week 6, we have Unit 1, Part 4, Thermal Radiation. And then what slides do you have to go read? Well, that's Unit 1, Part 4 slides, 16 through 36. So that's how you actually navigate all these different columns. These are the slide numbers. This gives you the topic, and the 1.4 gives you the unit and the part. Hopefully that all makes sense to you now. And I promised you that I would actually show you the slides just so you can bring everything together and you know that you found the right thing. So now the question is, where are the slides? I think I need to minimize my PowerPoint so I can load a different one. So let's go back to this PowerPoint really quickly, break that down out of presenter mode. And now I should be able to share my other PowerPoint deck, slide deck, and here we go. Well, told you there's going to be problems. I was really hoping for 100%, but I'm sitting here at 10 p.m. Of course, things would not work out perfectly. And okay, I think it was actually showing the right one before, but it wouldn't put it on the front of my screen. So hopefully you are seeing here the Unit 1, Part 4 slides, light, matter, and heat. And then you'd want to go down to slide 16. And here's where thermal radiation starts. Here you can see a thermal radiator of the exhaust of a rocket, and it's glowing red hot, emitting thermal radiation. Okay, so that's my primer on the textbook. Now, if I can get back to my original presentation, we will be golden, and I can continue on. All right, so we should be back now at the original presentation. So just a little bit of information on how you can navigate your way while you're actually looking at the slides. I really recommend that you look at them in presenter mode or presentation mode, and that will make them full screen. And what this will allow you to do is actually watch the animations I've programmed into them. These will only execute if you're in presentation or presenter mode, and that means that the slides are going to be full screen. You'll look at them one at a time. I'm in presenter mode right now. And whenever I say that I have the animations programmed in, these are not just fun transitions that I put in there like, oh, look, a comet shot across the screen. And the silly ones that you usually think about when you think about PowerPoint animations. These are full animated structures that I've slowly built up over time. And I'll give you an example on the next slide that are really made to reinforce and demonstrate course concepts. I'm pretty proud of a lot of these. I was unaware that PowerPoint could do a lot of the things that I've managed it to do. So I'm giving myself PowerPoint plus 5 skills. I also highly recommend that you use the PowerPoint slides because the slide numbers that are on the schedule are the PowerPoint slide numbers. When you convert to PDF, sometimes it adds extra slides, so the numbers might be off by 1 to a few. Also, the PowerPoint will guaranteed, I put hyperlinks into my slides if you want more information, and PowerPoints are 100% going to preserve hyperlinks. Conversion to PDF, sometimes they're lost. I haven't figured out why sometimes they're lost and sometimes they're not. I believe it's an issue that I am using a Apple computer, a MacBook. Okay, I said I'd give you an example. So normally you might just see something like this, or if I end the show, you might end up seeing a slide like this. And yes, that's a lot of information, but if I was honestly going through my slides and I looked at this, I'd be like, I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of this. What am I really looking at? I might be able to pick out a little bit that I'm trying to show you what the local sky view would look like from an outer space perspective. But the problem is you're not seeing any of the animations and all the text is on the screen all at once. Go back into presenter mode. And now the animations are loaded. You'll see that it looks a little bit different. And I'm not going to teach this lesson, so don't worry. But I added a little bit. Then I animated things so you could see that if you're standing on the Earth, we got a rather dizzying view as the Earth spins around on a daily basis. And you're looking out towards the heavens. And this is why the stars and the sun and things like that are rotating the way they do through the sky. And that's why you should do it in presenter mode, so all those animations will execute. Also, just a little bit more about the textbook. These slides are really going to make up the core resource for your learning this semester. In fact, they're designed so you should be able to succeed in this course. And if you're good, be able to, and thorough, and dedicated, you should be able to get an A from studying the slides alone. However, I don't think that's sufficient, and that's why I'm doing lecture videos as well. Things that you might want to do as you go through the slides is not just read them and watch the animations if they're in there. Make lists of vocabulary and write down core concepts. Take notes while you do so. Especially with the list of vocabulary, nailing the good vocabulary is one of the overarching course goals because it allows us to effectively communicate about astronomy and in a larger sense, science in general. Also, if you take the time to do that, these are going to be free, relatively free and easy points on homework, quizzes, and exams because I always put some vocab in there interspersed as multiple choice questions. Also, as you're going through the slides, if there is an example question or an example that I run through, you can be pretty darn sure that that's going to be something that appears on a quiz or an exam. So make sure you know how to get the right answer or make sure you know how to follow through the examples that I give. I also have a color coding in my slides to help you actually pay attention to the things that you need to. So I have blue text, green text, and red text. The blue text will be bold and italics, and it's really the important definitions and concepts. These are the things you should write down. This is how you should build your concepts and build your vocabulary lists. Green font indicates I'm extending past concepts that I think are reasonable for this course. So it's extending into a deeper level of knowledge. Now, I often preface these with for the curious student. They add a lot of context. They add things for if you find a particular topic interesting, you'll probably find these green font things interesting to read. The red font is used occasionally. And this is whenever I want to clearly indicate to you that you do not have to commit that information to memory. You're not going to have to memorize it. You're not going to have to reproduce it on quizzes or exams. A lot of the times this is going to be equations or derivations of equations that really, really help move understanding along. But for a 100 level astronomy course, I think it would be ridiculous to ask you to commit those to memory. And I'm usually just pretty much opposed to just rote memorization, especially whenever it comes to math-based things or number-based things. That's not really learning in my book. So red text means you don't need to know that for quizzes and exams, 100%. This video is actually being a little bit longer than I wanted to. Lecture videos, hopefully I'll keep them to a reasonable amount of time. Just going to quickly go through this. So I will release 4 to 8-ish videos per week. My aim is to make them about 5 to 15 minutes. Some of them might extend to be about 20 minutes or so. Bear with me. You can always pause them and come back later. I will release them as I make them during the week. I really hope I can get ahead of schedule, and at some point during this semester, I can release you all the videos for the week on a Monday. But as of right now, I'm not there. So I will release them as I produce them, much like this week is going right now. And then as you work through the assigned slides from your textbook, you should be watching the videos, and all of this, both going through the textbook and the course material and watching the videos, I've made it so that you can do it at your own pace throughout a week. And I really encourage you to build your own schedule throughout the week. And then that way, you are actually building in this class into your schedule at times that work for you. So yes, I do highly recommend breaking out your calendar, because we all need to keep them these days, and just penciling in some regular times for you to work on my class. I would very much appreciate it, and I'm guessing you will by the end of it, and it'll build really, really good study habits that will help you succeed in all of university life and life after university. So what is the purpose of all these lecture videos if the textbook is a standalone? Well, this is the first time where I'm not going to just go through the slides. I'm not saying in the past I just read the slides. I always sort of give my own interpretation with the slides. I cover all the material that are on the slides, and I'm talking about the material that are on the slides. But this semester, since you're going through all these textbooks on your own and it's asynchronous, so it's required that you have to go through those if you want to succeed in the class, I'm going to try to dive deeper with my lecture videos. This also means that I'm not going to have time to produce video after video after video after video that goes over every single slide. Have you ever had a professor that opened up their textbook and on page 1 started reading and every lecture or every class meeting was just them reading the textbook? No. They hit the important parts, and that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to make my videos on where I know students have the most trouble from semester to semester. I'm going to try to keep these as overall shorter videos by doing this because I'm hitting punchy topics, important topics. Some of them might go a little bit long, especially if I'm working examples, but hopefully you're willing to bear with it and all the examples until you get the concept. And that's what I'll be doing with these videos, a little bit of a deeper dive, probably a different slide deck. You'll see some from the actual textbook, but I want to go ahead and pare them down so that you're really listening to what I say and we can really dig into the concepts and I can give you a different perspective than you'll get from just going through the notes. Also, when there are mathematical analysis, yes, we do some math in this class. With traditional lectures in the past, I have always been a completionist. It's one of my strengths and weaknesses simultaneously, where I feel like if I'm going to quiz you on it and give you a test on it, I needed to talk about it in a lecture. I'm not doing that. I'm going to have to figure out how to deal with that. I know it's going to make me uncomfortable, but this does mean that not every slide is going to be covered that are in the textbook. So make sure you go through that, and with the math stuff, definitely tune into those videos because I'll work examples. If you still have trouble, post in the Canvas discussions related to this topic, and I will provide solutions or produce more videos with more examples. And finally, I want to talk about my quiz and exam policy. I'm calling it the 2-attempt policy or the learn from your mistakes policy. And I hope this increases engagement in Canvas discussions and also really approaches what it means to learn. A one-time assessment where sure you get feedback and you know what you got wrong, but half the time you probably aren't going to look at that. You're just going to move on and read life because you know that the class marches on. So why go back and review when you're just trying to survive? That's not exactly learning in my book. That is surviving. And I really want this class to be about education. And I think learning from our mistakes and getting feedback from me is going to be crucial. So I'm going to give you 2 attempts for every quiz and every exam. So when it comes to quiz week and exam week, you'll have your first attempt on Monday. You should study as if this was a regular in-class kind of quiz. They'll be online. But it does count. You should prepare for it. The idea is you prepare to the point where you think you are adequately ready for the quiz or the exam, and then you take it. You'll get some feedback on that. I will see how the class did as a whole. I will know what the most difficult concepts were, what needed more attention than what was given to you in the videos and from just the slides alone. So I'll create a Canvas discussion where I will address the biggest missed things, shore up all of that for you, which will hopefully prompt you to ask me deeper questions so you really get those concepts. Ask me questions about other questions that you think that you missed or you know that you missed on the quiz or the exam, and just generally engage with me, having a little bit of knowledge about the material. And then you get a second attempt on Thursday to retake it. And your grade will be the average of the 2 attempts. That means I did it that way, 1, because you should learn from your mistakes. And 2, I want you to actually have an attempt on your first one. You can't just use the Monday attempt to farm data and information. If you skip that first attempt, it's marked as a 0. So you have to take the first attempt. However, if you do the first attempt and you get, say, a 12 out of 12 on the quiz, I'm not going to force you to take that second attempt. If you got a 93 on the exam and you're happy with that grade, or you got an 87 and you're perfectly happy with a high B, then you can skip the second attempt. This doesn't apply for the final exam, and that's because the final exam happens on a certain day dictated by the university, so I can't give you a final exam on a day that the university tells me, well, on a day that I'm not allowed to by the university. That's one of the reasons, amongst many, that the final exam is only worth 5%, because you only get one chance to do it. And it's comprehensive and it's long. And I figure if, let's say you have a 96 in the class, the loss of 5 points would drop you to a 91. That's still an A, so you could skip the final in that case. I'm not going for a high stakes examinations, things like that. I want the examinations, I want you to feel comfortable about taking them and feel like that if it's not perfect, then that doesn't mean that it's over for you and you're going to get a bad grade in the class. All right, that's the material I want to cover for you. Hopefully that all makes a little bit more sense. Thank you for bearing with me throughout this video and some of the foibles of trying to figure out what screen was showing. And enjoy your evening, and I'll pick up sending out videos tomorrow.